Okay, this video is a book review. Here's the book, Art, A New History, by this guy right here, Paul Johnson. Paul Johnson is a pretty famous historian. He's from England, but he's a Catholic. So there are some things I like about him. I like the fact that he's a Catholic. I like the fact that English is his first language. I don't like the fact he's kind of harsh on the Irish. Also, I'm just going to tell you, most historians, pretty much almost all the famous historians are a bunch of pussies. And I know that's a strong statement, but I've read tons of history books. In order to become famous, you have to kiss ass to the secular rulers. You have to kiss ass to the publishing companies. So because of that, they usually are kind of politically correct wussies that go with the flow. You're not going to see very many famous historians that are contrarians. The best of them, like let's say the history of the Roman Catholic Church, like Tom Woods, Rodney Stark. They're sort of borderline ostracized and shadow banned. What I'm trying to say is the secular rulers and publishing companies and media outlets will not let a strongly contrarian historian become really famous, okay? So, Paul Johnson won awards from George Bush and other ones, and what I'm trying to say is they only let him do that because he kisses their ass, okay? But he's still smart. He still knows a lot. He also was an artist himself. His father was an artist. So he grew up around art. And he knows how to draw and paint. So he does know a lot. One other problem with historians writing an art book, he's a regular historian, not an art historian. He's a regular historian, is they tend to talk too much. If you look at this book, it's mostly text. There'll be, only about between every 2-page layout, 1/5 of the page. Look at this, it's all text. And I think that's a shitty art book. Look, just text after text. Nobody really gives a shit what you have to say. We want to see the pictures, okay? So those are other reasons why I think this book is overrated. Like most intellectual things, architecture begins with the ancient Greeks. In terms of good architecture, something worth looking at. Yeah, I know the Egyptians made pyramids, boring, a bunch of slaves stacked up some rocks, not too interesting. Here's the Acropolis, the city on a hill, the shining light on a hill, with the Parthenon, the statue of Athena, Pericles giving his big speech, funeral oration during the Peloponnesian War. Here's another closer look at the Acropolis. Here's a Greek amphitheater. Okay, now a couple other things to get about the book. Basically, all painting before 1300 or so, it stinks. It's sort of flat, three-dimensional. The ancient Greeks are thought to have had some really good painters like Apelles, who was friends with Alexander the Great. But Apelles, all of his paintings are lost. Every single one of the Greek painters, all their paintings are lost. We don't even have any of their statues fully intact. We have Roman copies of their statues. Let's see, what else? The other problem with historians is they try to be chronological, start right at the beginning, and they try to be relatively complete and include everything. But that's bullshit. That's not what you want. What you want is the key concepts and the highlights. Nobody's got time for every little detail. Who cares? Okay, so I think he does too much of that as well. I can also tell you almost all good art, 99+% of it, is Christian. All this multiculturalism is nonsense, okay? Many other cultures, they don't even allow people to paint. They don't even allow paintings in their religious areas of worship, okay? And they don't give a shit, okay? Other cultures, non-Christian cultures, don't care about painting. It's not on their agenda. It's not on their list of goals. It's not on their list of things to appreciate. And because of that, they stink. And there's something very primitive about that. The caveman painted in his cave with a little firelight. But most modern cultures are Philistines, okay? They don't paint. To me, gosh, one of my biggest regrets in life is that I didn't get good at painting and drawing. I so much regret that. I didn't realize how important it was till I was in college age and I was too busy then. After the Italian Renaissance, the Counter-Reformation, and the Baroque eras, sort of when Italy was dominant, after that time, the best overall countries for painting were France and England. Let's see, what else can we say about Paul Johnson? He praises the Jesuit system, which I like. He tells the truth that modern art is nonsense. Picasso's a fraud, a communist. He was an avowed member of the Communist Party. The goal of communism is to destroy all art. That's why we have all this modern art in the USA, because there's a lot of communism takeover of our cultural institutions, and then they destroy everything. They destroyed Hollywood. They destroy painting. They destroy the art museums. Okay, communism just wants to degrade the culture so it'll collapse. Some quotes by Paul Johnson. He said, artists tend to be emotional, hypersensitive, aesthetic, volatile, intellectual, with difficult personalities. They're routinely struggling with, trying to be original, which is unpredictable, the reception that's going to get, versus safe conformity, which gets you paid but not much. The greatest artists do things in a new way. Let's see. Oh, the Catholic Church, man, it was the beginning of the modern scientific method. It was the beginning of great painting, moving from the flat, two-dimensional Byzantine style to 3D realism to 3D perspective to more story-like paintings, more emotional in their paintings. And then if you look at the order, actually, the cathedrals came first, because cathedrals are really difficult. We're relatively easy to build in comparison with learning all this advanced painting with perspective, adding emotion. That actually is technically very difficult and challenging to learn. Then great sculpture started coming along around 1500, becoming great with Michelangelo. Great music came later. The Catholics developed the musical notation system for modern music. They also played a major role in developing the musical instruments. Protestants did as well for the instruments, like Bach playing the harpsichord, and gradually the piano became available, for example. Let's see, what made the Italian Renaissance? You got to have, first of all, you have the ancient Greeks, which sort of put this cultural psychology that we have a rational universe and you can understand things and make things better. And that's the whole Plato, Aristotle, then sort of rebaptizing Aristotle through Aquinas, Petrarch, discovery of the classics. And then the Medicis were very useful in Florence. They paid money to hire scholars like Pico della Mirandola, Marsilio Ficino, and that's partly why Michelangelo's paintings and sculptures are so great. And the same thing for Raphael, was that they had scholars that would give them advice on what to paint and what to draw. Because I've gone through many, many thousands and thousands of paintings. So what I notice is a lot of artists have fantastic skill, but they're not that good at picking a topic to paint. If you paint an episode from a Shakespeare play, I like that because it has a context. You paint something from Greek mythology, I like that has a context. They do a lot of portraits, which nobody cares about in the future, or political paintings. Nobody cares about that in the future, or still life or something like that. Nobody cares about it. So they need to pick a big subject in order for that painting to last and still be meaningful and resonate with future audiences. So let's see, I think that's about all I got. So what am I basically saying? I don't think the book is worth the money or the time. I'm interested in art, and so I kind of go through it. I went through it, but it's just way too much text, not enough paintings. And the paintings, his choice of paintings was really kind of lame. He has not studied art. Like, I can tell you, I know 10 times more about painting than he does. He might know more about some of the details of generating an image, but I know way more about knowing where the good paintings are. Because, this book, what is it? Let me see how many pages it is. 760 pages, and there was maybe 250 paintings. That's a joke. You should have had, tried to cram 2 paintings on every page, at least one. Should have been at least 1,000 paintings in there. Anyways, I hope you found that helpful.